One of my most recurring questions that I get from people about living here in Nicaragua or across the region in Latin America is, does Amazon ship to Nicaragua? Well, we're going to get into this today because not only is it a good question with some important information that people are going to need to know, but also it gives us a chance to talk about goal level thinking, because there's an important miscommunication in this question that I don't think very many people have realized. So let's get into that today. Before we dig into today's answer, got a couple little housekeeping things that I want to do. First, I'm Scott Allen Miller. This is my life living in Nicaragua. We do, down in the show notes, have a link to our WhatsApp expats group if you'd like to talk to other people here in Nicaragua and have some connections with them. We do have a report of someone who claims that they had their account deleted. We're looking into that as best we can. We don't get any information for anything, but their account is still showing up in the group, so we're wondering what has happened. But we're trying to get some more information. Maybe there's some misinformation going, maybe there's some confusion going on. We're not sure. There's also a GoFundMe. Marcela, my producer from the show, is going through stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we are helping to raise money to help her. She's a single mom. She has 2 kids, lives here in León, but has to do her cancer treatments at the Oncology Center in Managua. Her kids had to switch to school in Managua so they could stay with their grandmother. There's just a lot of things that have gone on in her life because of having major cancer and going through chemotherapy. She's now approaching halfway through the chemotherapy series, and we're hoping pretty soon that we will have some feedback on that to get real concrete information as to how it's going. It does seem to be going well, but we won't know until the doctors give really good feedback. So if you'd like to help participate in that GoFundMe, go hit that link in the show notes. That would be fantastic. We got tons of information in the show notes, from how to contact me, how to send in a video response so we can put you on the show, all kinds of things. Just go check it out. Trust me, it's worth it. And please send in video questions. We love that. And of course, get down in those comments and say hello and all that. All right. So, does Amazon ship to Nicaragua? We're gonna save you a bunch of time, but if you stop here, you're going to be very confused. The answer is no, of course not. If you look at Amazon, they only ship to about 6 countries worldwide. None of them are in Latin America. None of them are small. Amazon doesn't get into that kind of business. There's no expectation of Amazon in a country basically outside the US and Canada. Obviously, a few places have it, but even Europe broadly doesn't have access to Amazon shipping. However, we have to then ask the question, why would anybody care? This is a completely meaningless thing to ask, and yet it's a question we get all the time. Oh, the reason is that for 99% of people, this is what's known as a proxy question. There's a thing that they actually wanted to know, but instead of asking what they wanted to know, they asked something that they thought was a proxy for it. But in this case, and in most cases, proxies are not very accurate. And in this case, it is completely inaccurate. The thing that people really want to know is one of generally 2 things. 1, is there a shopping experience akin to Amazon available in Nicaragua? Or 2, am I able to have things from Amazon ordered and arrive in Nicaragua? We don't care who ships it. But in the original question, we're asking about Amazon shipping, not about availability of Amazon shopping, which are incredibly different things. For a long time, most people didn't use Amazon shipping for a lot of things. They just gave it to UPS or FedEx, and wherever they went, things went. You didn't have to worry about, does Amazon ship it there? The concept didn't exist. Today, it does. There's Amazon shipping. So people ask this question and often just assume that people will answer what they intended to ask. But why would they? Because it's a very discrete question with a very clear answer. Answering anything but no would be completely inaccurate. And it would be confusing to someone who's attempting to use Amazon shipping. So, okay, given, what do we actually do? First thing, this is a general life skill, and that is to identify goal level thinking. In this case, we could care less how it ships here. What we want to know is one of the 2 things that I mentioned. So we need to always step back and think, am I asking what I actually want to know, or am I asking something that I feel like means the same thing, but clearly the words don't line up? As someone who's autistic, this is a big deal because I can often tell when people are doing this, but I cannot identify what they actually meant in many cases. In this case, I can, at least I think I can. This is one of those things that my wife and I struggle with a lot. She has a tendency to use proxy questions or proxy comments for things all the time. You did this thing. I'll be like, I didn't do that thing. And then we have this long argument, and it turns out she meant I did this other thing, which I totally did. And then she had every right to yell at me. But we had this argument, not because I did the thing, but because I claimed not to do a thing she thought she had accused me of doing, when she really accused me of doing something completely unrelated, but to her, the words meant the same thing. So I've experienced this a lot being autistic, and my wife could tell you that most people have a tendency to be able to extrapolate, okay, yes, she said this, but we're going to just jump to this other thing and assume that's what she meant. And I have zero ability to do that. I can't identify when that's happening And most of the time. And when I do, I'm just lost. I'm like, okay, I know you're saying this thing, and I know you're convinced I did it. I have no clue what you actually are thinking that I did. I can't tell what the proxy, I know what the proxy is, I can't tell what thing you're proxying your goal level thinking. So for all people, right? So this is an important thing as we move into the era of chat GPT and so forth. As people use computers for more and more things, computers are just like me. They cannot be asked one discrete thing and give you a different answer. They can't. And if they do, they're wrong, right? They're flat out absolutely provably incorrect. It is never okay to give a false answer because you're assuming that the question was wrong, right? It just doesn't work that way. You could imagine the problems that would then arise from it. So in this case, we have to think about, okay, what we want is to be able to receive things from Amazon, probably, or something like Amazon. We're going to assume that it's actually Amazon. Of course, there are some shopping experiences like Amazon that you can use anywhere in the world, Alibaba being one of them, AliExpress and some other services. We know those exist. We're not going to talk about them today, but yeah, they do exist and they are available. But let's talk about Amazon itself. This is the most likely useful bit of information that someone may want to have here. So let's reword this into something that's actually useful. One, let's assume that Amazon is available here because it's available everywhere in the world. Moving past that, we don't need to ask that about individual places. So what we need to know is, how do I actually do it? We know that Amazon doesn't ship here. We know we can get Amazon. These are just things you don't really need to look into. What we need to look into is, what do we do? And this is the secret and makes life so much more powerful when you realize that this is something you can do here in Nicaragua, and how much of the world naturally uses these kinds of services from around the world that are not local to them. As Americans or Canadians, we're often going to not be aware of these types of things because so many of our services are local. We really do think in terms of Amazon can just ship it to me. But to much of the world, that's not how these things work ever. And so they're used to this ecosystem regardless of whether it's Amazon or the current day or a long time ago. And what we do is this. Now, you'll still need to have an Amazon account. Hopefully that goes without saying, but just for the record, you'll need to have an Amazon account, and you'll need a credit or debit card available in the United States that is able to place a purchase on Amazon. Now, if you don't have those things, this is where a lot of Nicaraguans feel that they can't get Amazon, not because it's not available in country, but because their payment processor won't allow for a payment to Amazon. So it gets a little bit more complex, but there are workarounds for some of that stuff, such as PayPal or knowing someone who will place an order for you or whatever. So there's almost always a way to place an order, but many Nicaraguans who don't have connections with anyone, are not going to do a ton of research about it, have a lot of apprehension about giving money to someone else or working with a foreign service that they can't go and see firsthand, are not going to try this. And so you end up with a lot of Nicaraguans, or a lot of people who are living in Nicaragua, who believe things are much more expensive than they really are and much less available than they really are, because they are not talking to people who are doing these relatively well-known processes to get lower prices. And it's just the same kind of thing you would have in the United States. If you walked into your local small town hardware store, everything would cost a lot more than if you're going to a Home Depot, and that would cost more than if you're going to a Harbor Freight, or really shopping around or having those right connections and knowing exactly what to do, having your contractor supply company that's getting you stuff at wholesale prices or whatever. In every different industry, in every different region, we have these little tricks to get things at lower price than you get at the normal everyday big box stores. If you were to walk into a McDonald's, you'd believe that French fries are much more expensive in the United States than they really are. But if you go to your local diner, it's a really good chance that they are at least 25% less than McDonald's in most cases, and often very, very good as well. Maybe less consistent, less predictable. There's reasons to go to McDonald's, and theirs are kind of special, so I get it. But the point being, we often have to, in any given market, have some tricks up our sleeves to get better prices. And if we don't do anything, we should do the laziest thing, there's almost always someone making really high profit margins, willing to sell us things at super high prices because we didn't want to do any work and look any further. There's a big, big profit to be made from doing that, no exception here in Nicaragua. So what do we who have access to credit cards and debit cards in North America do to order from Amazon? Let me tell you, because I do this all the time. You go on Amazon, you place your order. What I also do is contact through WhatsApp Envios Fast Track. Now, this just happens to be the carrier that I use, so I'm not telling you that other ones are bad or possibly not even better, but I've had great luck with Envios in the times that I've used them. The pricing is fantastic. I've sent lots of people to them. I've had no one give me negative feedback. I'm using them because other expats gave me really good feedback about them, said it was the best they found after many, many years here. So I've been using them and I'm happy. I've tried some others, no major problems, except we have one that did really screw us over. So we've had a few bad experiences, but mostly we have really good experiences with our shippers. But this one has been really easy to work with at the best possible prices. So what we do is I get addresses from them, one for air shipping, meaning I can get things in a few days, and one for maritime shipping, which means they put it on a boat and it takes a little while to get here. Though if I'm ordering things I have planned way ahead of time, they're not going to spoil, I just send it to the boat because it's ridiculously cheap. So cheap that in some cases, the tax advantage of using the boat is actually better than paying the taxes in the US, but even after I've paid the import duties and everything like that. So in some cases, multiple people have reported that they're actually getting better resulting prices from Amazon in Nicaragua than they would get for the exact same order from Amazon in the United States. This is not consistent. You will not always have this happen. It depends on what you order and a lot of other factors, but it is plausible that you will actually have a cheaper experience by maybe 1%. We're talking small numbers, nothing to be super excited by, and only when you're using maritime. Once you're using air shipping, you're really never going to hit that because the difference is about $2 versus about $6, right? So it's not terrible per pound, and that's how it's done. But that's all in. Everything's included under normal circumstances. It isn't, well, I pay this and then I pay some other hidden things. No, it's just you pay by the pound for the things that come. Different shippers use different techniques. So I'm just talking about Envio's Fast Track in this particular instance. And I'm going to do my best. If I haven't done it by the time the video is up, let me know, and I will try to put their WhatsApp into the comments. I am not associated with them in any way other than being a happy customer. So you feel free to be like, I saw you on Scott's show. That's why we're doing this. Link to that. They are aware that our WhatsApp group has linked a number of people there, but that's it. I'm not getting a discount. They don't know I'm doing this. They didn't ask me to do this, anything of the sort. I'm just happy with them and passing it on to help make sure a good business that keeps us afloat, pun intended, is getting good business from others. This is how these references are important for business. Okay. So I get their addresses to use, and so I use the maritime address, for example. I put it into my Amazon. I store it in my Amazon so I can order anytime. I go into Amazon, collect all my stuff, send it to that address. Once I get a shipping number, a tracking number from Amazon, I just give that to Envio's Fast Track. I send them a quick note. Hey, I've got stuff coming from Maritime. Here's the tracking number. They're like, thanks, we'll let you know. As soon as they get it and sign for it, they just send me a WhatsApp message to let me know that they have it. Of course, Amazon also updates me that they have it. Then they'll let me know when they put it on an airplane, which is normally the next day. You are going to have some delays here. You are not going to get things as fast as in the United States. So if that's the thing you're looking for from Amazon, to get 1 to 3 hour or 1 day turnaround on products, you're going to be unhappy because that's not what you're going to get. But you can get pretty fast. You can overnight over to the Envio's Fast Track office, and you can have them send it by air freight and be here in Managua pretty quickly. But you'll pay $6-ish, $6.50 something per pound for that. So if it's just a small item, no big deal. But if you have a lot of stuff and it's really heavy, that will add up. So just whatever works for you. Once that is received by their shipping place, whether air or maritime, in Miami, that happens to be where everybody shipping to Nicaragua is based. Check a map, you'll understand why. And they collect it. If you have multiple orders, they'll wait as per your instructions to accumulate them together, or just send them out as they come, whatever is going on. And then they'll send them by air or maritime down to Managua. Once they've been received in Managua, they will send you a note again in WhatsApp, let you know that it's there, and you can do one of a number of things. You can stop by and pick it up. That's what I did last time. That's often the easiest thing. They can also put it on one of the buses and send it out to you for just a few dollars, which is not very convenient in a lot of cases, but super cheap. And if that's what you need to do, it's fine. You can also do custom carriers like cargo trans or just independent carriers that they'll work out with you. They'll hand it to someone on a motorcycle. They'll put it on the back of the motorcycle and run all the way from Managua to wherever you are and deliver it to your house if that's what you want to do. If you're doing the bus, you have to go pick it up at a terminal. So there's a few different things. And moving it around the country is the most complicated piece, really, of the whole thing. But their offices are located in Las Colinas in Managua, and it really is easy to stop by and pick up your box or whatever if you are in the area. So depending on where you live and just what your travel pattern is around the country, it can be really convenient to just do that. Or just pay cargo trans to bring it to your house, whatever makes sense for you. But that's how we do Amazon here. And it's really that simple. This isn't a big, long, ongoing process. It's just you use this specific, we call it a drop shipper. address in Miami. You drop it to them. They instantly take that, put it on either a plane or a boat. If it's a boat, it's going to take weeks to get to you. It is very slow, but it is also very cheap. So that's great. So the thing that we've really changed is that we plan our purchases better. We spend more time thinking about what we're buying. We make sure we order ahead of time so that we're giving plenty of time to receive it through maritime, so it's crazy cheap. We hope that our maritime shipping is per pound so low that it's actually cheaper than the taxes we would have paid in the United States. So we may actually save money, but in any case, we're really not spending any more money. We're just waiting a little bit longer to receive things. So the majority of the benefits and the access to things that you get from Amazon, we're able to still get here. And that goes for nearly everything. You can use that for electronics. I know people who are ordering televisions that way, and it doesn't have to be just Amazon. I use a lot of camera companies. You know, we talk about that a lot here. I'm a camera addict. I buy used cameras from small dealers. I buy direct from Chinese manufacturers, have them sent into the United States and then shipped on. I'm going to try getting around that now. Now with the new tariffs, a lot of those things going into the US don't make sense like they used to. We're going to talk about that in another episode. But if you're looking for that very specific Amazon or Amazon-like experience, you could be ordering from Walmart, Target, Home Depot. It's just, you know, recently I had a package that my dad had for me of just things he found around the house. Same thing. He just sent it to the NVO's Fast Track address, gave me the tracking number. I gave it to them, and I have it here. No problem at all. I got some old model railroading stuff and some little items we left behind when we were up there. So easy. So once you have this worked out, once you have that relationship with someone like NVO's Fast Track and have that address ready to go and you've done it once, it is so ridiculously easy that when people are complaining about the difficulties or complexities of shopping here in Nicaragua, everyone I know is like, what are you talking about? Like, it is literally so close to what it's like shopping in the US, and we still have access to all the same stores. Like, we really have it good because we have the local market, which is completely different than the US. We have access to Chinese goods coming in without tariffs directly to the port at Corinto. And we have access to basically anything we could get in the US shipped through Miami for so cheap and so easy that we actually, truly, in most cases, have it better. We often pay less. We have a wider selection available. Like cell phones, we have a much wider selection available here. And with the tariff situation, we have a lot of advantages. And yes, we have to wait a little bit longer. We have a little bit more logistical headaches to it. But from a cost and market availability perspective, it's actually fantastic. But what a lot of people do is they simply go to the mall, they go to a store down the street and say, I don't see the thing I want on a shelf, which is generally not a thing you would do in the United States anyway. And so then they report back that things are expensive or unavailable. And then others of us are sitting here going, well, I have those things and they weren't expensive, so something's wrong, right? And if you are able to get things and you are able to pay very little for them, that proves the point, right? That one person fails to find a good deal doesn't prove that things are expensive. You can only prove that things are expensive if nobody ever at all gets a good deal. Now, if someone's getting gringo price, we understand that's different. That's a different thing. And it's just like houses. People who say, no, it really is $200,000 for this little house in a little barrio. I know because I paid that. And the person who's next to them is like, yeah, but I have the house next to you and I paid $30,000. I can prove you overpaid. You can't prove I underpaid. That's how that works, right? It's how markets work. So because we're consistently able to do this, we're able to show that for nearly all goods, there are exceptions, but for nearly all goods, we actually have really good availability at really good prices here in Nicaragua if you know what to do and you have the knowledge of the market to place orders internationally and the access to financial resources to be able to pay in those markets to place those orders. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee directly at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. That comes directly to me. It's like Patreon and helps pay me for my time and pay for all the stuff that I have to pay for to do the show. It actually is very costly, both in time and in actual money to do the show. So I really appreciate all of my sponsors. You guys make all of this possible. We also have a join button down there if you want to join through the YouTube channel and sponsor in that way. Basically the same thing, just two different modes of doing that. And as always, would really appreciate it if you send in any questions. However you do that, make sure you go in those show notes and see what we have. Say hi in the comments. Share on social media if you would. Tell someone about the show. And I will see all of you tomorrow.